September is sure to be a month welcomed by gardeners all across Oklahoma, especially after the hot, dry summer we've had this year. And usually the second or third week of September, the temperatures will start to cool down, and usually we'll start seeing some of those fall rains. Well, when it does finally cool off, we can start planting some of our fall color plants like pansies, ornamental cabbage and kale, snapdragons, dianthus, and dusty miller. And of course the favorite garden mums. Now when you're out purchasing your garden mums, don't buy mums like these that are in full bloom, and that's because they've already put forth the bulk of their display. They don't have a lot of other buds to come on, so we plant them in the garden and they're not going to look good for very long. It's better to go ahead and get some mums that haven't flowered yet. You can see these have buds coming on, and it's okay to get them even if they don't have the buds present, but we can plant a mass of these out in our garden, and in a few weeks we'll have a beautiful display, and it'll last a lot longer in the garden. Another fall color plant that is sometimes available at nurseries and garden centers is the Mexican bush sage, like we've got right here. Now these are plants that we put in the ground back in the spring, and they've gotten quite large, but we've been able to enjoy the foliage all year. If you see these in the nursery, they're not going to get as big, but you can see some of the flowers are just now starting to come on. It won't be very much longer now when we'll be able to enjoy just a multitude of the spikes of these little purple and white flowers. Well, fall is not only a good time to plant out our fall color plants, but it is also an excellent time of the year to start planting landscape plants like our trees and shrubs. The soil temperatures are still warm this time of the year, and the air temperatures are starting to cool down. So this just creates wonderful conditions for the roots to grow, and excellent opportunity for those plants to get established in the landscapes. It's a good idea to check out your favorite nurseries and garden centers this time of the year to keep an eye out for sales or discounts or specials going on to be able to pick up some plants at some lower prices. We can still sow the seed of a lot of our cool season vegetables throughout the month of September. Things like mustard, radishes, lettuce, and spinach can all still be sown throughout the month of September to be enjoyed later in the fall. Fall is also an excellent time of the year to sow seed of wildflowers. Fall is just an excellent time to get these plants established in the garden. You can collect your own wildflower seed, or if you purchase wildflower seed, try to buy it from growers here in Oklahoma, or at least in states that are near Oklahoma. The closer you get to home, the more established or the more adapted the wildflowers will be for our area. So if you're going to be buying wildflower seed, try to buy it locally. You may have a few perennials in your garden that are looking a little worse for wear this time of the year, like this little celandine poppy or woods poppy like we've got here in our garden. But it's perfectly fine to come in with some pruners and just cut away all that brown scorched foliage and clean the plants up a bit. Now this is okay to do on any of those perennials that have already flowered. Also, any perennials that have already bloomed, say in the spring or summer, can be dug and divided once the weather cools off. And you can take those extra plants, move those around, plant them in other spots in your garden, or you can share them with your friends and neighbors. Later this month, we may start finding some twigs lying under our trees that have been severed in a neatly sawn off fashion here on the end. This is the work of the twig girdler. It was about a couple years ago on our show when we did a segment on this little beetle that will come along and lay her eggs along the end of the branch, and then with her mouth parts she cuts off the branch and drops everything, eggs, twig, and all, to the ground where they overwinter. Then the following spring they hatch, they start feeding inside the branch here. Late in the summer they emerge, fly up into the tree, and start doing the whole process over. Well, there can be a little bit of a problem if a lot of the limbs or twigs are removed from the tree, plus they kind of mess up the lawn a little bit. If we hit these with a lawnmower, it dulls our lawnmower blades. So if you don't want to have more fallen twigs the next year, it's a good idea to gather all these up and bag them and put them in the trash. Don't chip them up for mulch or put them in the compost because the eggs may survive within the twig. So just be sure and throw away all the branches neatly sawn off by the twig girdler. Well, if you have a wisteria that has been reluctant to bloom, fall is a good time of the year to try to shock them into flowering. One way you can do this is to take a long bladed shovel, like a sharpshooter here, and come out about 24 inches from the trunk of the wisteria and sink that blade, its full depth, into the ground and just go around the plant, around the circumference, about halfway to 2/3 of the way, severing some of those roots. Whatever you do, don't try to cut the tap root of the plant. We don't want to kill it, we just want to shock it. So you might try that. If you've got a wisteria that hasn't been wanting to flower, maybe it'll give it just a little bit of stress and cause it to produce some flowers. Well, here to give us some more tips for the month of September are consumer horticulturist David Hillock and studio garden manager Laura Payne.
As we approach the end of summer and the beginning of fall, it is a good time to turn your attention again to your turf grasses. And we have several tips for you that might help you keep your lawns nice and healthy. We're actually coming towards the end of the active growing season for our warm season grasses, and we'll begin the active growing season for our cool season grasses. For our warm season grasses, such as Bermuda grass, now is a good time to adjust your mowing height, raise it up to 2–2.5 inches to prepare it for the winter. This is also the time that you would put down your last application of a fertilizer for the year. It should really be put down no later than the first week or so of September. Much later than that, and it could result in some winter damage of your warm season grasses. Now for the cool season grasses, such as the fescue and Kentucky bluegrass and ryegrass, now is the best time of year to actually establish a new lawn or overseed an existing lawn. Temperatures during the fall are excellent for germination of your cool season grasses and establishment of those grasses. Now some people also like to overseed their warm season grasses with a cool season grass such as annual or perennial ryegrass. This is not something that we highly recommend, but it can be done. And again, this should be done at this time. Actually, the best time is the latter part of September through October to establish any of your cool season grasses. Now this is also a good time to pay attention to your weed control. As we get into some cooler temperatures in the fall, we can get out the broadleaf herbicides again and begin to control the broadleaf weeds in our turf areas. Products that contain 2,4-D or a combination of 2,4-D, MCPP, and dicamba are excellent products to help control those broadleaf weeds. Also, we are looking at a good time to apply the pre-emergence herbicides. Those should be placed down no later than the first week or so of September as well, in order to get good control of winter annual weeds that will be germinating soon. As we approach the end of the growing season, this is also a good time to take a soil test from your flower or vegetable garden. This will help tell you whether or not you have any nutrient deficiencies and if there needs to be any amendments added as we approach the winter. Now, if you're also growing tropical plants or indoor tropical plants outside this summer, now is the time to begin preparing them to be moved indoors. As we move them indoors, they are subjected to lower light levels, and you need to help them adjust to those. And the best way to do that is to go ahead and move your plants into shaded areas for a couple of weeks before you move them indoors.
There are a few signs that let us know fall is just around the corner. The bulb catalogs are starting to arrive, so you want to place those orders so that you'll receive your bulbs in plenty of time to plant them this fall. In the next few weeks, you may start to notice an increased number in field crickets trying to come indoors. To reduce this problem, you need to try to eliminate or reduce their habitat. They survive in moist, dark places, such as under trash cans or flower pots or wood piles, so you may want to move these items a little further away from your building structures. Also, keeping your yard mowed and weeding your flower beds will help to reduce this. And the use of yellow or sodium vapor lights can also reduce the number of field crickets you may see around your home. And don't forget, at the end of the month, you'll want to start taking cuttings of those tropical plants or tender plants such as coleus, so you can overwinter them and plant them in your flower garden again next year. Before long, your purple martins will be leaving. So when they do, that's the time you want to take down their home and remove any old nesting material, scrub it out with the 10% bleach solution, rinse thoroughly, and air dry. Do any necessary repairs to the home at that time, and if possible, store indoors. If you can't and you store them outdoors, then you'll want to plug all the holes so that the starlings and the sparrows don't claim it.